So how about on the flip side of that, some stumbling blocks that you see like too many roofing companies making, like just, if you could just tell them like, hey bro, like there's a landmine over there. I see it. You don't see it, but I see it. Like, don't go that way.
Yeah. I'd probably say communication with homeowners is probably one of the largest stumbling blocks in setting the right expectations that create big problems for you. I'm a big fan of under promise and over deliver.
Mm-hmm.
And so like this is probably a simple one, right? So let's say it's a storm area. Let's say it's Minnesota, right? And you might be in a cash flow pinch, right? So something you can do for cash flow is slow down your production, right? So if you slow down your production, you're not putting as much money out, which then gives you time to collect the money, right? So then instead of saying, let's say you could roof in 4 weeks, but you're like, hey, look, instead of 4 weeks, I'm going to tell them 6 weeks, right? So now I just pushed it out 2 weeks. And potentially I could call them up on the 6 week mark and, hey, look, we got a little busy. We can push it out to the 7 week mark, right? And so now I just bought an extra 3 weeks of cash flow management time. And I think, learning to understand that management of cash flow when you're growing is really huge. I think another side is a lot of companies don't cost out a job before they do it. Like, hey, look, this is my potential, what I'm going to make on this job, or even have an idea of how much money is sitting out there for you to collect. So that way, when you see a supply house bill of, let's say, $200,000, $300,000, and the supply house bill is going to call you and you're like, well, crap, this sucks. Well, it might not be that way, because if in your accounts receivable, you have $800,000 in your accounts receivable, you're like, oh, this is not a huge deal. I got enough money potentially coming in to cover the supply house bill. So there's there, right? So it allows you to sleep better at night. So it's managing some of those little things that help set the right expectations. So I think the biggest thing is setting the right expectation. I'm also a big fan of doing things right the first time. I know it may take longer. Like one of the big things for us is taking photos of the property, right? And so I'm like, as the sales guy, the sales guy typically should be the guy taking the photos. If not, you should have someone else in your company that goes and schedules it. But the sales guy's there already. It takes to do a thorough inspection, probably takes, let's say, 35 to 40 minutes to do a good, thorough property inspection. That 30, 40 minutes is just compounded huge, right? If you were to pass that off to someone else, it'd take that individual 20, 30 minutes just to get to the property, another 20 or let's say 30, 40 minutes to view it, and then 30, 40 minutes to come back. So it took him, let's say, almost 2 to 2.5 hours to do the documentation of one property. You were there and you got it done in 30 minutes. And then you don't have to go back to that property. And you're on the site and you have all the information. So I find that in areas that we're able to save time and cutting corners, and I'm trying to get to the next client to sign, that if you finish and did it right the first time, you eliminate all the stress later down the road.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I saw a video testimonial on, I guess, your Facebook or SFY.
Oh yeah.
The sales rep who was like so pumped that he got an extra $1,000 in his commission check for that project, because he said he took 2 extra minutes to take a few extra photos.
Yeah, right. And because the other side, they are taking photos, right? So it's like, if you just learn to take the right photos consistently, like, it'll be huge. And it means something more for the homeowner, right? And I know everyone's trying to rush through the process, but I'm like, part of being a professional is if it takes you a little longer to do something and you have the documentation to back it, it changes the perspective of the homeowner's client view. Because let's say they had a second, let's say you're the second roofer at the house. The first roofer inspected the property. Let's say the roof is totally damaged, right? They already know they need to file a claim. Everything's going forward. But it took some 5 minutes to get up, they're back down. Here's photos, here's the damage. Let's file a claim. Versus yourself that knows it's ready to be filed, but you spent 30 minutes on the property, walking the property. That homeowner has a different perspective of you, right? Like, hey, look, the other guy's just a hustler. This guy's a professional. This guy actually spent time at my property. He took pictures of things that wasn't damaged by hail. I was shocked. I didn't even know I had this issue in my house. And I always try to, when I was, when I had my roofing company, to find 1 to 2 things that had nothing to do with hail damage because it creates the level of trust and honesty that's like, hey, look, I'm not here just to try to push everything's getting paid by the insurance carrier. I'm going to run a level of trust, right? So when you show that, it builds that level of trust with the homeowner.
Yeah, you're that trusted advisor.
Right.
That's one of our core values. We try to live by that as well, or we do live by that. And while you're talking about photos, I got to plug not us, but necessarily, but the importance of, while you're on the job, take some photos that you can use in marketing as well, because you're documenting damage and all the details and things like that. 100% necessary. But then, zoom out, go to the front, go to the street, whatever. If you have your drone, rip that thing out and just get some photos that you can use in your own content, or you can give to the company. If you have a marketing manager at your roofing company, to give to that person that they can use in marketing, because we train marketing managers at roofing companies. Mostly that's like our bread and butter client. And a lot of times they'll show up to our calls and they'll be like, yeah, I'm trying to get content. The guys are just giving me these crappy photos. I can't really do anything with them because they're like the close up damage photos. You got to like zoom out and get the front elevation, get the drone shots. And again, like it's training. It's like, train the sales guys on or sales guys, girls on what you want, what looks good, give them examples and say, can you take an extra, 5 minutes to get these photos? Because it's going to help all of us be more successful, right? We're going to use them in marketing. We are going to be able to, run better ads. We're going to be able to get you guys more appointments. You're going to make more money. The company's going to make more money. We're going to be able to service more homeowners, more clients, and everyone wins, right? Take the extra couple minutes.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, right? It's going back to doing things right the first time, right? So typically when I roofed, I made sure the sales guy followed up with the client after the roof was done, right? And that's typically at the end of the day. How much longer would it take to, hey, look, especially if you have the client happy smile face in front of their new house, right? Like what great, better photo is that of the homeowner excited about their new roof, right? And you could easily take that photo shot, as well as it goes back to marketing. I always said, we did that. And I also told everyone, you got to knock the 6-8 neighbors of the house right beside it. Those are great leads. They saw the roof get done, they went up, got done, and move forward, right? Those are great opportunities for you to pick up another lead, right? It takes an extra 15 minutes max to go knock the neighbor, and you might have another deal. And just going back to do things the right way is actually faster.
Yeah, you're right. Follow the processes, and they're all simple, they take work, but they're all pretty simple, like nothing revolutionary,
Right.